Okay, guys, so I'm going to do a quick video, just a freestyle video. I want to talk about a midlife crisis because this is something that people are so afraid of, whether it's a midlife crisis, a quarter life crisis, and I want to alleviate your anxiety about the midlife crisis or whatever crisis you may be going through because it's really not so bad. They're necessary and they can really be a beautiful transition in your life if you allow it to be that. But at the same time, I'm not saying that they can't be scary. I'm not saying that they can't be tough. Sometimes they're extremely hard to go through. Uh, but they are necessary. And when you approach it with the right attitude, you can really produce something beautiful in your life. So, what is a midlife crisis or a crisis in general? Well, when we think about the word crisis, what comes to mind is a time of great trouble, right? So when you think about the crisis of the United States, for example, you think about 9/11, you think about any event where there was just a lot of stress and anxiety and uncertainty, right? So in your life, you have crises as well. But when it comes to psychology, what we think of when we say crisis is a point in your life when you're at a crossroads, right? And you have a major decision to make. And that's what's happening in a midlife crisis. And we could talk about a quarter life crisis in a different video, but I want to focus on a midlife crisis. There's no particular age. It could be 35 to 45, 50, it doesn't have to be the middle of the life expectancy, but there's sort of a switch that goes off in your brain, right? So let me address it this way. If you've ever seen the evolution of a baby, there are certain milestones that every baby makes, right? That we can kind of predict they're going to go through this phase. It's like a switch goes off in their brain and in their development, and they start doing something, and we can kind of track it with our children. They're going to start doing this. Well, that doesn't stop when you're a child. That goes throughout your entire lifespan where you have these moments where just a switch just flips and it's like you have this realization about your life. Um, the thing about children is they really can't see that far into the future. So a baby may be on they're really in the moment, but as they grow, maybe they can sense minutes into the future, and then as they get older, days into the future. It's not even until your teenage years that you really begin to understand years in the future. That's why when you were 12 years old and you had that 13-year-old cousin, they seemed so much older than you because that 1 year was a lot. And even into your early 20s, you don't really have that sense of, 20 years from now. And so that's why we don't really, when we're at that age, we don't really take advice or really trust older people a lot of times because you don't really have that foresight of time. Some people may, but for the most part, we don't. So when you get to a certain part of your life, your midlife, this is the part of your life where you begin to see that everything that society has hid from you, which is aging and illness and death. These things are things that society kind of tucks to the side and pretends doesn't exist. Um, Mortality. When you begin to feel that, when you begin to look in the mirror and see it, and when you start seeing your friends get sick and you see your parents, especially when you see your parents get old, and you know that you're next because you're right after your parents. You saw your grandparents, and now you see your parents getting old, and now you're like, whoa, I'm next to get old and to die. I feel my mortality. Once you get to that point, you really start to see the light at the end of the tunnel. And when I say the light at the end of the tunnel, I mean the one that they tell you not to go into if you are in a coma or something. That light, the end, you start to see it. You start to see the whole path from where you are to the end. And it can be terrifying. And so the crossroads is, what do I do with the rest of my life? What do I do with the rest of this time that I have? Do I continue to move in the same direction? And this is kind of troubling for people because maybe they're not happy with their life. Um, or maybe they're just kind of happy, but there's a potential for more. And the other road is, you know, you don't know what's over there. While you have this road where you have certainty, you have safety, you have everything that you've built up during your life. On the other side, there's just unknown. But in the unknown, there's potential. There's potential for everything that you want, right? Or that would make you happy or make you feel full in life. But there's also the potential for you to lose everything and for your whole life to fall apart. And so that is the crisis. It's like which way do I choose to go? Now, you can choose to just stand there in front of the two roads too. But the thing about life is it doesn't stop. Time doesn't stop. You continue to get older. And so as you're standing there in this place of anxiety and worry and fear, the roads get shorter and shorter, right? Because you're getting closer to that white light. Uh, or you can try to take steps backwards. You could try to defy age. But a lot of times when people do that, they end up taking measures that speed up the process, right? So maybe they'll get plastic surgeries that will, disfigure them. Um, so you really have to decide what, there's no such thing as, you can be indecisive, but it still is affecting you. No matter what you do, it's going to affect you. And my advice to you when you're in that space is to not allow yourself to be stuck in a place of anxiety or worries or fears. Um, because oftentimes what that leads people to do is make decisions that are going to cost them in major ways, like going out and, the popular idea is the guy going out to buy an expensive car, uh, or cheating, someone cheating because they want to feel alive again. They want to feel young again. They want to know they still got it, right? You can end up making decisions that are self-destructive from this stage. And that's why there's such a big fear about a midlife crisis, because a lot of times people make destructive decisions. So what you want to think about when you're here, instead of allowing your brain to go crazy with all this anxiety and negative emotions, which is understandable, but not helpful. What you want to think is, you want to ask yourself the question, when I am in my last days, because now that I can see that they are coming, right? When I am there, right at that light, what do I want my answer to be? Because that is your judgment day, right? I'm not talking about some uh, supernatural judgment day after you die. I'm talking about the judgment day that you have before you go into that light, which is you asking yourself the question, did I live my life to the fullest? Did I give it my all? Did I empty myself? Did I go after happiness? Did I go after fulfillment? Did I go after love? And if that answer is no, then you're going to go out in despair, right? But if that answer is yes, even if you didn't achieve everything that you wanted to achieve, if that answer is yes, then you can go out in peace knowing that you have truly emptied yourself and lived this experience to the fullest. And so what that may entail is you having to really cause some good harm. And when I say good harm, I mean sometimes people end up abandoning their whole life, everything that they have created in their 20s and their 30s, everything that they have built, they have to walk away from. And that hurts a lot of people. Sometimes that hurts. It's scary. It can hurt themselves. But the thing that you want to remember is, if you are walking on a path where you're not happy, right? Even though you have built up some capital for that particular life, uh, it may not be worth it to you to hold on to it because it's not making you feel full, right? A lot of people get attached to what they have put energy and time and money into, so attached that they're willing to stick with it even when they're not happy. And that is a recipe for you being right close to that light and not being happy with your life. You have to be willing to abandon everything that is not contributing to that picture that you want to have of yourself. And the that version of yourself is counting on you right now to make the decisions that are going to govern the rest of your life. It's really, that person is really counting on you to make the tough and necessary decisions, to go after your dreams, to go after love, to do the kind of work that you really want to do. That version of yourself, that older version, is counting on you to do that right now, no matter how hard it is. So that is what I would encourage you to do if you are in that right now. So it's not something to be afraid of, and it's not a situation that you have to be stuck in forever. It's just a fork in the road, a place where you are making a huge decision for yourself. And again, my advice to you would always be to choose your best, happiest, and most fulfilled self.